On a remote speck of land in the Indian Ocean, a crimson tide is rising. It's not water, but life. Millions of creatures marching in perfect unison, driven by an ancient biological clock. This is Christmas Island, and for a few weeks each year, the ground itself seems to breathe, shimmering in a sea of red. Sir David Attenborough called this migration one of the 10 greatest natural wonders he ever witnessed. A spectacle so profound, it feels like stepping onto another world. But this paradise is under siege. For decades, a silent, creeping invasion has turned the island's vibrant rainforests into a battlefield. The famous Red River of crabs was dwindling, its path littered with the dead. The island's very soul was being eaten alive. The solution was not a bigger weapon, but a smaller one. Scientists unleashed a microscopic assassin, an army of killers almost invisible to the naked eye. What happened next would redefine our understanding of ecological warfare, and prove that sometimes the fate of an entire world rests on the shoulders of its smallest inhabitants. Christmas Island is one of the most isolated places on Earth. The crown of an ancient volcano, it towers 3 miles above the Indian Ocean floor. A solitary fortress of life wrapped in a blanket of emerald rainforest. Over millions of years, this isolation forged a unique ecosystem, a living laboratory of evolution. At the heart of this world lives the Christmas Island red crab, Golecoidea natalis. These vibrant crimson crustaceans are not just residents, they are the island's engineers. They rule the forest floor, digging burrows that aerate the earth, consuming fallen leaves to recycle nutrients, and pruning seedlings to keep the undergrowth in check. They are the beating heart of the ecosystem. For most of the year, they live solitary lives. But when the wet season arrives, something primal awakens. They emerge as one. Males march first to the coast, followed by the females. After mating, each female carries a precious cargo up to 100 and teach. Under the last quarter moon, they rush to the shore in a final, frantic dance, releasing their eggs into the ocean. The eggs hatch instantly, the larvae drifting for a month before returning as minuscule crabs to begin their own long journey inland. It is a cycle of life on a truly biblical scale. But then, everything changed. Sometime in the 20th century, an invader arrived, likely a stowaway on a supply ship. They are known as yellow crazy ants, and their name is an understatement. On their home turf in Southeast Asia, natural predators keep them in check. But on Christmas Island, there was nothing to stop them. They spread like a biological wildfire, forming supercolonies that housed billions of individuals, operating as a single, sprawling organism. One colony alone was measured at over 1,800 acres, an underground city teeming with 1,000 ants per square meter. When these supercolonies met the red crabs, it was a massacre. A single crab, encased in natural armor, is formidable, but it stands no chance against a swarm. The ants don't just bite, they deploy chemical weapons. They spray formic acid, one of nature's most potent chemical agents, targeting the crab's eyes and joints. Marauder, blinded and paralyzed, the crab is helpless. The swarm moves in, tearing its victim apart. The acid lingers as a toxic gas, suffocating any life in the crab's burrow, which the ants then claim as a new nursery. By the late 1990s, the ants had killed an estimated 10 to 15 million red crabs, nearly a third of the entire population. The migration routes became death zones. The ecological clock was ticking. Park rangers fought back with a brute force approach. Poison bait. Helicopters dropped tons of fipronil, a neurotoxin, across the island. It worked, but only temporarily. The ants would vanish from treated areas, only to surge back from the untouched wilderness. It was a costly, endless cycle of chemical warfare. Scientists knew they were only treating a symptom, not the cause. To find a real solution, they had to answer a fundamental question. How could these super colonies sustain such impossible numbers? An army of billions needs a constant supply of fuel. The key to defeating the ants wasn't in fighting them head-on, it was in cutting their supply lines. The investigation revealed a hidden clue, an invisible partnership. The ants had an accomplice. This is the yellow lax scale insect. It latches onto trees, sucks their sap, and excretes a sugary liquid called honeydew. For the yellow crazy ants, this honeydew is pure carbohydrate fuel. It's their energy drink. The relationship is a masterclass in symbiosis. The ants protect the scale insects like livestock, fending off any predators. In return, the scale insects provide an endless food source. This partnership was the engine driving the entire invasion. Researchers proved it. When ants were experimentally cut off from their scale insects, ground activity plummeted by 95% in just 4 weeks. Without their sugar, the supercolonies began to starve. The strategy became clear. This wasn't a war on one front, but two. To save the crabs, they had to stop the ants. And to stop the ants, they had to destroy their food source. The principle is called biological control. Every species has a natural enemy. The goal was to find the scale insect's nemesis and bring it to Christmas Island to restore the balance of power. The search, led by scientists from La Trobe University, led them to Malaysia. There, they found their weapon, a creature just 2 millimeters long, barely a speck of dust to the naked eye. Its name is Tachardia efficacia somervillei, a parasitic micro-wasp. It is a specialist killer with a biologically programmed mission. The female wasp lays her eggs inside an adult scale insect. The larvae then hatch and consume their host from the inside out. Once they emerge as adults, they immediately seek new scale insects to parasitize. The question was, could it be safely introduced? The history of biological control is littered with disasters. The research had to be flawless. For years, scientists conducted rigorous tests. They exposed the wasp to 8 closely related scale insect species. It ignored them all. They confirmed it would attack the scale insects even when they were guarded by swarms of crazy ants. The Australian government undertook one of the most extensive risk analyses in the nation's history. Finally, after years of scrutiny, the project was approved. In December 2016, a team flew to Malaysia and collected 167 wasps. They were chaperoned like VIPs on a direct flight to Christmas Island. Now, the real mission could begin turning 167 assassins into an army of millions. On Christmas Island, park rangers built custom-built enclosures, the secret barracks for this new army. They cultivated plants, infected them with scale insects, and introduced the wasps. The population boomed. By 2017, they released the first Wave 8,000 wasps deployed directly to the front lines of the ant infestation. Then they waited. Biological control is a quiet war, fought on a microscopic scale. Months turned into years. Monitoring teams tracked the data. Slowly, at first, then dramatically, the patterns emerged. In areas where the wasps were released, scale insect populations collapsed. And without their fuel, the ant supercolonies began to crumble. One survey site that once recorded 700 ants per square meter now had only 10. But the true measure of success was the crabs. In 2017, the crab migration was estimated at 45 million individuals. By 2024, that number had swelled to 100 million. The population had more than doubled. Crabs were digging burrows in old death zones. The forest floor, once silenced by the ants, was again alive with the rustle of millions of crimson shells. The ecosystem was healing, all thanks to a creature most people would never even see. Saving the crabs did more than preserve a spectacle, it saved the entire island. Without the crabs, the rainforests were suffocating. Leaf litter piled up, and unchecked seedlings created impenetrable thickets. The forest looked green, but it was dying. As the crabs returned, the forest began to breathe again. Leaf litter vanished, plant diversity increased, and other invasive species, like the giant African snail, declined as their habitats disappeared. Native lizards, frogs, and ground-nesting birds, once terrorized by the ants' acid spray, began to recover. The entire web of life was being rewoven. The war is not over. Yellow crazy ants still exist in remote pockets of the island. Total eradication was never the goal control is. It's an ongoing battle requiring constant vigilance, poison baiting in targeted zones, and the unwavering pressure of the micro-wasp. But the success is undeniable. The 2024 migration was a breathtaking validation. After a dry year delayed spawning, 100 million crabs marched on schedule, a testament to a thriving, resilient population. The story of Christmas Island is a powerful lesson. It shows that in the face of overwhelming ecological disaster, the most effective solution is not always brute force, but deep understanding. It's a story of scientific patience, ecological forensics, and a tiny 2-millimeter wasp that saved a world. It proves that nature, when given a chance, has a profound ability to heal itself, and it forces us to ask a difficult question. How many other ecosystems are hanging in the balance, waiting for their own unlikely hero to turn the tide? The fight for our planet's most precious places is often won in battles we cannot see. What are your thoughts on using one species to control another? Let us know in the comments below. And for more incredible stories from the front lines of conservation, don't forget to subscribe.